Why did Taehyung suddenly show up at the airport to pick up Jungkook instead of Jimin as everyone predicted? Is this a sign of a split? Or is it just a massive engineering from HYB? A moment that changed ARMY's mood in an instant. A flat gaze, a silent gesture, and a silence louder than a scream. What exactly happened? Why did Taehyung do this to Jungkook? Clues that make the ARMY suspicious. Everything was calm before the storm came. The airport was filled with expectations, fans holding banners bearing the names of Jimin and Jungkook, hoping to witness again the warm interaction they used to see so often. But no one is really prepared for what happens when the doors of international arrivals open. Jimin wasn't there. Instead, another much more unexpected figure appeared. Taehyung, with an expressionless face, stood there in silence. Not a single fluffy smile on his lips, not a single friendly gesture that he usually gives to fans. He just stared straight ahead, as if waiting for something. And the next second, Jungkook appeared. That moment, the airport, which had been filled with happy screams, suddenly froze. The hearts of the fans beat faster, not out of excitement, but out of confusion and anxiety. Why not Jimin? Wasn't Jimin caught on camera saying he was going to pick up Jungkook because he hadn't seen him for a long time? Isn't Jimin and Jungkook known to be very close? Even too close for fans to often dub them BTS's heart duo? Why did Taehyung, who has been rumored to be estranged from Jungkook, suddenly appear? Is this just a coincidence? Or is there something bigger and darker behind this incident? One thing that immediately became a hot topic in the ARMY community was Taehyung's facial expression. He's not smiling. In fact, when Jungkook was by her side, there were no hugs, no warm nods, just blank stares that, to some fans, felt cold. Jungkook looked awkward. Some of the soldiers who recorded the moment with high-definition cameras even noticed Jungkook's hand movement, which wanted to grab Taehyung, but was stuck in the air. Why? Did they quarrel? Is there something we don't know yet? Rumors explode faster than the speed of sound. One of the most surprising? That all these were not spontaneous decisions, but rather carefully designed by HYB. Yes, an internal source who did not want to be named claimed that Taehyung's presence at the airport was part of a rebranding strategy between the members. But if that's true, why doesn't it feel warm at all? Why, even such a show that did not manage to touch anyone? If it is true that HYB arranged this moment, then the question is not only why, but also for whom? For the ARMY? For the media? Or to cover something bigger? Many believe that HYB is trying to quell rumors of a rift between Jungkook and Taehyung, rumors that over the past few months have continued to surface despite repeated denials. But what happens if the way to muffle the rumors actually makes the atmosphere worse? Not a few also argue that Jimin's absence in this important moment is a real clue that something is not right. Jimin, who had always been a peace broker, was now invisible. Even his social media accounts were suddenly silent, without any uploads since 2 days before Jungkook's return. Is this a form of disappointment? Or did he refuse to participate in the scenario that HYB had written? Some observant ARMY pointed out that Taehyung was wearing the same watch he wore the last time he performed at his solo promotional event A Signal, perhaps because at that very moment, he looked cold and closed, like he was carrying a heavy burden. What is the relationship between the incident and the airport? Is Taehyung under internal pressure? Was his presence at the airport actually a form of forced responsibility that he accepted because HYB wanted to display unity in the team? But there was a moment that literally riveted everyone. After entering the car, Jungkook looks down and the camera captures a tear-wiping gesture. Just a second, but enough to make the fans feel as if their hearts were pierced. Jungkook crying? In front of Taehyung? What does that mean? Is the cry directed to someone he misses but does not come, or to someone who is present but feels distant? Or is it a silent protest against a scenario that he is unable to resist? One photo that has now gone viral in the ARMY community shows that shortly after their car pulled away from the airport, Taehyung's hands held the steering wheel tightly and his eyes were fixed on the rearview mirror, as if checking Jungkook's expression behind him. But that look is not a loving look. He looked worried, maybe even scared. But afraid of what? There is also a theory that Jimin was actually at the airport, but in another area. A fan uploaded a picture of a person wearing clothes similar to Jimin, seen standing far behind the crowd. But why didn't he come closer? Is he watching from afar? Or is it because we do not know him? If all this is part of HYB's big scenario, then it must be admitted that the impact is greater than expected. Instead of creating an impression of peace, they open wider wounds. Fans are now torn between those who still believe that this is all a misunderstanding and those who feel betrayed by a blatant game of emotions. And we haven't discussed the video uploaded by an airport staffer who claims to have overheard a conversation between two HYB staffers discussing Taehyung's role in the pickup moment. In the video, one of them says, "If Jimin comes, it's too soft. We need something stronger, more surprising." That sentence makes anyone's hair stand on end. Does HYB really use the relationship between members as a drama tool? The deeper we dive into these events, the more questions arise without satisfactory answers. What does HYB really mean? Are they trying to control a narrative that is starting to spiral out of control? Or are they trying to hide something much bigger than just the conflict between members? One thing is certain: the ARMY will not stand still. They've pieced together piece by piece of seemingly unconnected moments, blank stares, restrained gestures, uncharacteristic silences. They realized that something was wrong, and now they demand answers, because at the end of the day, it's not just about who picks up who at the airport. It's about honesty, about genuine relationships, and about the trust that has been built together. If it's true that there was engineering behind that moment, then the question is no longer simply, why did Taehyung do this to Jungkook? But what is HYB hiding from all of us? After the car carrying Taehyung and Jungkook pulled away from the airport, the world seemed to be motionless for the millions of ARMY who watched the live broadcast and re-recorded it many times. Not to enjoy the moment, but to look for honesty that may be hidden behind body language, behind unusual facial expressions. What did they find? It's even more confusing that a few hours after the airport incident, BTS's official account did not upload anything. There was no welcome, no reunion photo, no sweet moment as is usually served when there is a meeting after a long pause. Even Jungkook's personal Instagram account only showed a dark post, a photo of a window with rain outside, without a caption. So quiet, but thunderous. Is this a message? A silent gesture about what he really feels. Shortly after, RM's name appeared in the spotlight. Many hoped that RM, as a leader, would give a statement or at least a sign that everything was fine. But the opposite is true. On the same day, RM uploaded a photo of himself in the studio with a short caption, "Not everything we can explain, but it all feels." This sentence instantly created a new mess. Was he referring to the incident at the airport? Does he also feel uncomfortable? Or is it a subtle way of showing that he too disagrees? And then there's the genie. Recently returned from the military, Jin is known as a mediator and protector for his younger siblings in BTS. But it was precisely Jin's invisible presence in this moment that made many ARMY wonder. Why didn't Jin greet Jungkook? He has just completed his country's mission. Wouldn't that moment be the perfect opportunity to show warmth and togetherness again? A fansite account close to one of HYB's staff claimed that Jin actually wanted to be present at the airport, but was directed not to appear because the focus should be on Taehyung and Jungkook. The sentence arose from a screenshot of a staff message that spread across the K-fandom community that night. If true, then it signifies something greater. That HYB is indeed deliberately crafting the narrative. But what narrative? And what is its purpose? Meanwhile, Jimin remained silent. And Jimin's silence was the most painful cry for many fans. A member who is usually the most expressive, the most loving, the warmest, seems to disappear. There were no signs of his presence on social media, no messages, no clarifications. Even the hashtag Where's Jimin became trending in a short time. Fans started freaking out, not only because they didn't know where Jimin was going, but because they were terrified that this wasn't just another moment of absence. Then a video appeared, only 12 seconds long. But the video made the heart of anyone who watched it beat uncontrollably. Taken from a hidden camera in the airport parking area, Taehyung and Jungkook can be seen standing near the car at a distance of 1 meter. Taehyung is down. Jungkook stood with his hands in his pockets. No conversation was recorded, but the look in Jungkook's eyes was blank, full of hurt. And then, he walked first towards the car, while Taehyung was still standing still. The scene reminded ARMY a lot of an event 2 years ago, where Taehyung and Jungkook once reportedly had a big fight before an important concert in LA. Back then, rumor had. It didn't take long for ARMYs around the world to start putting together theory after theory, trying to understand what exactly was going on between Taehyung, Jungkook, and the most mysterious, Jimin. Twitter, TikTok, Weverse, to Reddit are filled with thousands of analysis, screenshots, and even lip reading from that viral airport moment. But of the many speculations, there is one common thread that is beginning to form. Something big is being hidden. An ARMY account from Japan broke the silence with a shocking post. He shared a screenshot of an old concert translation staffer claiming that Jimin had actually been in Korea 2 days before Jungkook and Taehyung returned home. Even more surprising, he mentioned that Jimin was actually scheduled to welcome them at the airport, but all changed within 12 hours before the scheduled arrival. Jimin's schedule was suddenly canceled. The location of its existence is removed from the system, and Jimin disappeared from the radar. No public appearances, no live, no updates. As if he wanted to remove himself from the story. Why? The question became even more painful when a former Hybe editor, who is now no longer under contract, wrote the sentence on his personal account, which was immediately deleted a few hours later. Sometimes the one who cares the most chooses to go quietly because he knows too well what can be broken. ARMY suddenly wondered, is Jimin, who has been known as the keeper of harmony in BTS, choosing to leave because you can't stand the conflict between Jungkook and Taehyung? Or does he think he is the cause of everything? This theory was further reinforced by a short snippet of sound scattered from HYBE's rehearsal room, allegedly recorded by an accidentally lit CCTV camera microphone and uploaded by an anonymous account. The voice wasn't very clear, but it was recognizable, and to true fans, it was Jungkook's. He could be heard saying, in a high and limited tone, that if we do this, we're just pretending. I don't want to stand next to someone who doesn't even tell the truth. You know, right? And then came another, deeper, heavier voice, one believed to be Taehyung. You mean I'm a hypocrite? You don't know what really happened. You don't know what he told me. Then silence, followed by the sound of the door slamming. Then a heavy breathing sound, which was then followed by a soft voice that was suspected to be Jimin, who said slowly, I told you if I speak, all this will be destroyed. So I decided to shut up. 3 voices, 3 emotions, 3 interrelated injuries. The cut of the tape only lasts 42 seconds, but the fandom world is like being torn apart by those voices. Many believe it is proof that there has been a violent confrontation, perhaps just a few days before Taehyung and Jungkook's return. And if true, then Jimin's silence is a form of sacrifice. He chose to stay away so that his 2 friends could be reconciled. But does it work? Meanwhile, the media began to report the possibility of a rift in BTS for the first time seriously. A number of Korean outlets picked up articles about Jimin's absence and tensions at the airport as headlines. And HYB? Just answer with one cold sentence. Nothing needs to be clarified at the moment. That one sentence only made the situation worse. Are they reworking the narrative? Are they waiting for the right time to give the official version? Or is this a damage control strategy, so that the cracks that may occur do not destroy the image of BTS that has been built so perfectly? Because for many ARMY, it's not just about who's wrong. It's about an inexplicable sense of loss. They don't lose members, they don't lose music, but they lose the warmth that has always been the soul of BTS. The warmth was now cold, covered in a fog of mystery and doubt. In fact, there is an ARMY that writes, I don't care who is wrong. I just want to see them talk to each other again like they used to. Laugh together. Cry together. I want them to hold each other's hands again. Is that too much to ask? But the question is now much bigger. What exactly happened? And will anyone be able to save them from this collapse of trust?